In this video, we're going to go over some advanced bill pay and payment planning features for vendor bills. So from the accounting dashboard on the accounting module, you can go into your bills to pay button. And in this example, I only have a couple, but the part I wanted to go over was we have a couple unique scenarios where some of these bills have specific dating terms. So if we open up one of these bills, we have a special dating term that goes in this case is 30, 60, and 90. So it's broken up into 3 installments. And if you open up the actual terms, you'll see that every month we have to pay a third of the bill. And in this case, if the bill was dated on this date and it was for $100, it automatically kind of gives you an example on the payment terms. So if you go back to the bill, you can see each of these terms. If you click on the Journal Items tab, it will show you that the accounts payable is automatically broken out so that when you do your reconciliation and your payments or other account payable reports, it is broken out into each installment when that invoice is confirmed. And we've added a couple of things to help control this. You'll see that there is set a plan date on each of these installments. By default, the plan date is going to be the due date of that installment or that particular accounts payable entry, and this also works on receivables as well, but not nearly as common. You may have to click the toggle icon over here to add some additional rows, like the due date sometimes is not displayed. So if you want to show the due date broken out, you can see that we've already manipulated a few of these, but by default, the plan date is going to be the due date of those installments. But I'll show you how you can change those. If you want to do it on just a single invoice and go through and change, and you already know what your planned payment dates are, so that in essence, when do you plan on actually paying this invoice? You can come over here. Whoops, didn't mean to click on that. You come over here and click on Set Planned Payment Date, and it's going to pop up a window and just say, hey, we're not going to pay this until the 29th. And I go ahead and say Set Planned Payment Date, and it's going to update it and say we're going to pay it early, or it's not due until the 13th, but I'm going to go ahead. We pay on Fridays, so I'm going to set it to the 12th or whatever. So you can go ahead and you can control those on the individual bills one at a time. But you can also do this from this dashboard. So from here, you've got your kind of all your default columns. Again, you may have to come into your toggle settings, and we have a couple of additional options. So you've got your next payment date, your planned payment date, and then down here is your next payment amount. And a lot of times I turn some of these other ones off because I don't necessarily need the total in currency because I'm not doing multiple currency, and I don't necessarily need the accounting date. So you can go through and turn some of these fields off that you don't need or don't want to clean up your view so you don't have quite as many details. And if you're going to use the next payment date and the plan date, you can potentially turn off the due date as you want. The due date is going to show you, and it kind of counts for you. Say, hey, this is due 6 days ago. This is due in 47 days. But when you're doing installments, the due date in this column is always going to be the final due date of, hey, you need to pay this full invoice in 48 days or 47 days. You just have to pay this whole thing off. And the total, and then you can also turn on the amount due. So in this case, we haven't made any payments. So we've got the total, you've got what's due. So you might have done a partial payment. So this is the total what the bill was for. So anyways, you can go through and toggle these. I might turn the total off because I don't really care about the total. I'm only worried about what I actually have left to pay and the amount that's due. And then I've got my next payment amount over here. So if you'll see on this one, these two here are installment-based payments where the tax excluded amount is $100, but my next payment amount is only $33.34, and my next payment date is I have to pay that by 4/13. So even though the whole bill is not due for 47 days, technically I was supposed to make my installment on 4/13. So that's the next payment date. And then you'll see your planned payment date over here. So you can go through and you can use the same list view and say, okay, well, we want to take these bills and we're going to set the planned payment date, and I come in here and say, actually, we're gonna push this back. We're not going to pay it until the 5th, and go ahead and set that. And now it updated all of these to the 5th. And I come in here and say, this one, we're going to go ahead and push it back into the following month, into the 12th, or the following week into the 12th. So now you can go in here and you can see all of these options, and you can do a custom group by and say, I want to group it by my planned payment dates. Oops, where'd it go? Planned payment date, and go ahead and apply that. So now I've got it defaults to a month, but you can also go back in there and say, actually, I want to do it. Let's group them by week instead of month. And now I can see, okay, I've got my allotments and everything grouped of what I want to pay for each week. And now you can break these down and see, okay, well, my next payment amounts for each week is I got 772 to do this week. I got 2,000 to do the following week. And you can now come in here and select all of these and register your payments or do your bill pay however you want. So the only thing to note is if you're doing, when you go to cut your checks or do your payments, the system is still going to look at the total amount due. So when you're doing your registered payments and you have installment-based payments, you may also want to come in here and do an additional group by partner. And you can save these once you get them set up the way that you want them. Whoops. Keep going past them, partner. So now I can group it by partner and see, okay, well, this week I need to pay all of these individuals. And the reason I like grouping it by partner is now I can come in here and I can see that I need to pay them $66.68 is my next payment. So now I come over here and do register payment. And I can say I want to group my payments. And you can see the amount automatically goes to the full bill amount. But in this case, I'm doing an installment. So I just want to do the $66.68. And now I can go ahead and create my payment and say, keep the remaining balance open and generate my payments. So that's pretty much it. So that's some of the controls you have that you can play around with and group your bills and group them and register either by partner or then you can come in here and turn that off. Say, hey, I don't want to look at the partner view. I just want to see what I have planned per week. And now you can see based on your weekly planning or your monthly planning, you can see what your totals are that need to be paid. The nice thing is when you're looking at, let's go ahead and remove these filters and look at these bills. We made that partial payment on both of these. So you'll see that it automatically, now I made a payment. It says it automatically updates anything that's an installment based. The next payment date now has automatically updated to the next installment, and the planned payment date automatically resets to the next installment. So every time you make an installment payment and get that reconciled, the next payment dates are going to automatically update to the next payment date in the group. And if you look at the journal, if you go to the journal items, you'll see that you can't set the planned payment dates for this other one because it's already been paid and that one's been paid and taken care of. So there's some tools to help when you're in some more advanced accounts payable scenarios or installments to make it a little bit easier. And we have the new planned payment option, so you can go through and plan your bills and have a little bit better of a grouping and a reporting to see what you plan on paying when, and you can plan your cash flow out that way a little bit better and a little bit easier.